Okay, this is a demo of GradeScope. So you go to GradeScope.com. You create yourself an account if you don't have one. I already have one, so I'm going to log in. And in between these things, I'm just going to pause and so you don't have dead time. Okay, I've logged in, and I have from spring 2020, there were two classes that I was working with. In fall 2019, there was one class. If you want to create a new course, you just click this button here and follow the instructions. It's really pretty simple. So anyway, I'm going to go into this. Well, I'll go to the fall because there's a lot more in there. So here, there's 4 assignments. These were pop quizzes and things like that. Okay, I just clicked on the big button that was 2340 in the fall, and so this is the next thing that comes up. Active assignments mean things that you are working on, that you're grading or whatever it is. So that's that one. Okay, so if you go up here, this is called the dashboard. If you go up here, you're looking at the dashboard now. If you click on assignments, then it'll show you the assignment. So I had 3 exams and a final for this class. What I'll do is I'll show you how to create an assignment. So here, if you want to create an assignment, you just click right there, right? And is this an exam, a quiz, homework? Usually I just call everything an exam. You can get the statistics, the grades and everything. It's very nice, the amount of information they give you. And what I do is I just get it in an Excel spreadsheet, download it to my computer, and then I just copy it into the Blackboard grade book, and that way the students can see their grade here, but that way I can just keep track of it in Blackboard. So that's what I do. So I usually just call them all quiz exams or quizzes or whatever. One of the things that I used in the spring was online assignments. It seemed to work pretty good. It's similar to Blackboard, where you can say, here is the exam. It's a PDF basically, and you can say, release it to the students on a certain date and a certain time. But mostly I use these up here. So I'm just going to create an exam. If you want to, multiple choice bubble in or whatever, you just do that. Otherwise, you just say, next. Now, so this is an exam. You have to give it a name. So I'm just going to call it temp. And then there's a template. So I have to go find one, but then so I'm going to pause. I'll come back and show you what it means to do the template. Okay, what I didn't show in the pause is I click this, select PDF, and then I use typical Windows thing comes up, and I went over and I selected this PDF file, which is on my disk, and it has the exam. So this is for like paper exams. You can also give online exams, and so this would be what I hand to them, and they work out. Usually, like if it's face to face, you're going to pick up the exam papers, and then you'll scan them on the scanner, which doesn't really take that long, and then you've been in control. This last spring, when everything was online, I had the students submit it, and they can take I mean, it worked great. They could take a picture with their cell phone, and there's an application that turns it into a PDF file, and then they would upload it there. So I would click that for the spring. Okay, so then we're going to create the assignment. Okay, so here's the PDF file. It's a little small, but I think you get the idea. And so then what you would do is you would say, okay, I'm going to create a name region. So you click that, and then here's this little window. And so you just scroll it over, you grab it, left mouse, and you just make it as big as you want, put it wherever you want, and they will put their name here. And the program will attempt to read that name and match it to your roster. And then you can, if you want to, you can create an ID zone, and you just scroll it over, And again, what it'll do is it'll try to read the numbers and match it up to the grade book. If it can't quite figure it, usually it hits it like 98% or something. The ones that it can't for sure tell, then what it'll do is it will give you a list, and you can it'll show you what the student wrote on their exam, and you can look and say, oh yeah, that's Joe, or oh yeah, I see. And because sometimes they'll get sloppy, and you can usually tell, but sometimes the computer's not certain who it is, and so then it'll show you that. Okay, so then what you do is for this PDF file over here, then you say, okay, I want a new question, so you can title it whatever you want. You can assign 10 points for this. You can change this later if you want to, and then you can say new question. Let's see, I think that's right. Yeah, so a new question. Let's see, come back over here, give me this guy. Okay, so each of the questions has a little box. So if you want it to try to grade it for you, because it has some AI or whatever, you can put it in here. So like, for example, I'll have a yes or no type of thing, or if it's just give me the number answer, then what I'll do is I'll make a real small box so they can't put a whole lot in there, right? And I'll say, the title is type in the number for gravity or whatever, and then when the software tries to grade it, it will focus its attention in this little box and try to identify what's in there, and then assign grades that you did. Or you can grade it differently. So if you have another question, this is a one-page quiz, so there's not another page, but if you have another question, it'll come up with another box. You can make this box as big as you want, and then there's points, for that one as well. When I was doing it with kind of open-ended questions, I would set this box to be the entire page, right? Because what I would do is I'd say, well, I'm just going to grade it manually, and so I would just make this real big, and then it would, every time that it would show, it would just pop this guy up, and then I can take a look at it. Here on the recording, it's real small, but on your full screen, you can see it easily, no problem. So anyway, you can change this guy here, and then once you've got all your questions done, you just save it, and so now it's ready to go. And then next thing is that you, since I selected that the instructor was going to manage the submissions, the next step is to submit the submissions. And so when I would do it, I would go and I'd scan it and have the scanner send it to me, and then I would just grab the PDF files off the thing, and I just throw them onto this window, and poof, it starts reading the images, and then you can grade it. So what I'm going to do is pause and see if I can pull up some things here, right? Well, before I do that, what I thought I'd do is I opened up this left-hand guy again, and basically this is the flow of what you're going to do for your assignment on temp. I've created the outline. The next thing is to manage the scan. So after they take the test, or if they're submitting it, then they will upload their PDFs. I've never done that, but every single one of the students had no trouble figuring out how to do it. So the next thing is you would put in your scans. After you put in the scans, what it'll do is when it manages the submissions, it'll open up all of those PDF files. You can have as many as you want, but it'll open up all of them, and it'll read the name and the ID, and it'll try to identify who it was that submitted this. So for example, if you pick up 50 papers and you scan all 50 and you put them in there in one PDF file, what it'll do is it will figure out it's because of the outline, it's 5 pages, here's the name, here's the ID, and it'll separate and break them apart. So that's what managing submissions is, and it works great. And then you'll do the grading, which I'll try to show you here in a little bit. So you'll do grading, and then after you finish grading, it'll show you the average, the maximum, the minimum. It'll show you what each student did, and it'll allow you to say, wait a minute, I must have made a mistake there, or whatever. And And then once you've finished that one, then a button will pop up to, after you've reviewed it, to do you want to submit, do you want to let the students know? And if you say yes, it will send them an email and it'll say, click on this link and download your graded exam. It'll tell them what the max is, the minimum is, the average, all of those kinds of statistics, and it's quite good. It'll also allow you to download the PDF files, so you can archive them if you want a copy of what was turned in. It'll give you the Excel spreadsheet with the grades. It'll give you an Excel spreadsheet that analyzes all kinds of stuff that's in there. Quite good. So that's in the reviewing. Then if this is an option, but you can turn on regrades, and you can set a date that says they have until next Friday to request a regrade. It's real easy. They just go online and they click a button, and then they enter in what they think is wrong. And it's real simple. When you get the regrade, you have to check, but when you get a regrade request, you just click on a button and it'll pull up their exam, and it'll show you what they're complaining about, and then you can either adjust the points or respond to them or whatever. This button just shows you the statistics again in case you forgot when you were reviewing. And this guy here, it sets the different options and whatnot that you can do, so it's not a big deal. And then of course there's help and all of that kind of stuff as well. Okay, now I'm going to pause and see if I can pull up a sample of of how you grade. Okay, so I just went back to the same class and I just pulled up exam 1. This has been done, submitted, graded, everything. So you get all these check boxes over here. And then we're at the reviewing of the grades portion. I'm not sure if I can scroll. Okay, there we go. So it gives you the bar chart. If you scroll down, which I won't, it'll show you the names of the students, the grades that they made, and you can click on the name of the student, and it'll pull up their exam so you can see it, take a look at it, make sure it's everything that you expected. These are the buttons that you have during the reviewing, so you can download the grades and it'll come down as an Excel spreadsheet. You can export the evaluation. So this is the grading. So what it'll do is it'll say Joe on problem 1 got a 20, and on problem 2 got a 13 or whatever. So that's the grading part. If you click this one, export submissions, that will actually give you it's a zip file, but it'll give you all of the PDF files in one zip file, so you can archive it. So if somebody comes back later, you can pull it up and say, no, this is what it looked like. So it's basically a Xerox of everything. And then here, if you click this, you'll get a window coming up, and it'll send a note to all of the students, and you can modify it to say whatever you want it to say, or just hit the standard thing. And it'll give it a button for regrades and getting the results and everything. So that's that one. So let me pause it and then get back to to show you what it looks like when you're actually grading. Okay, so here this is managing the scans. So there were 15 PDF files for 77 students. So I tend to do like 5 students in a pile, just in case the thing jams up or something. And then what happens is it'll come in here and it reads the PDF, which you just grab from your directory and just throw it onto this window, and it takes it. And so it says it found one submission that it assigned to the student automatically. This one found 5. And it created the submissions automatically. So it counts the number of pages, it reads the name, everything is okay. So that's what's happening here. It's just telling you that. And every now and then, let's say you scanned an extra blank page or something, and so it'll realize that, wait a minute, the exams are 4 pages each, and this guy is not a even multiple of 4, so there must be something wrong, and it'll identify it, not give you a little green arrow. so that you can go in and take a look at it and go, oh yeah, okay, I see what happened. And you can divide it up evenly. But that's how managing the scan submissions are. So I'm going to pause and we'll go to the next step. Okay, so what I did was I went over here and I showed you managing. Now we're grading, right? And so this is what it looks like when you're grading. Obviously, this one's all been graded, so it shows that there were two of us that were grading, me and I don't remember who my TA was back then, but anyway, so there were two of us that graded them. 100% of the submissions are done. The maximum number of points, 25 each, right? So that's basically what's happening. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this guy and I'm going to show you, if you were actually grading, what it would look like, okay? But I'm just going to check and make sure the name doesn't pop up there. Okay, I did click on that and the names are shown, so I just slid it over a little bit so you wouldn't see the names of the students. But anyway, since it's already graded, over here on the left, it would have the student's name, and in a minute I'm going to click on that and bring that one up. But I was the last person who looked at that thing, and the student earned 20 points on problem 1 of this exam out of 25. So they didn't do too bad. So that's what it looks like after it's all done. Before they're graded, what you'll see is you'll get the paper popping up immediately where you can immediately grade it. But like I said, this has already been done. Okay, I'm gonna pull up the individual exam. Okay, so before you've graded anything, is when you hit the grade submissions, this is kind of what will happen. It just pops up like this, and you can see it. You can zoom in, zoom out, real easy with I'm using the wheel on my mouse. And so you can zoom in and really take a look at what they're doing. You can hold the mouse button down, you can slide it around so that you can see it. If you've put a window or a box where the answer is, it'll zoom in on that box so you can immediately see what the box looks like. So that's what it'll look like, and I've just scrolled it down a little bit so you can't see the name of the student. And then over here, when you first start off, this is your grading rubric, and it'll be empty, right? And so what you'll do is you'll say, you come down here. I think it comes up with one that says temporary or something, or whatever. And then you would click on this button and say, I want to add a rubric, or you can import them. I've never done that, but anyway, you can add a rubric item. You click on that, and what it'll do is it'll pop up another, the next one will be number 8. You can say how many points you're going to give for this item, and you can either do plus grading or minus grading. So you can either subtract from 25, or you can add from 0 up to 25. So it'll watch that for you. So you can add, you can delete the rubric, and if you try to delete it, it warns you. Now, if you delete this, it's going to be gone for everybody. If you add one, or if you change this grade, so like this student got this one right and he got 5 points for it, you can change that 5 to a 4 even after you finished or graded half of them. If you change the 5 to a 4, it'll go back, and everyone who had that will go from a 5 down to a 4, and it'll keep track of all of that. So I really like that feature because I never quite know exactly how many points I want to give. So anyway, you create these rubrics, and then you say, oh, well, they did this. They tried to compute the components, okay? And then you just click the number, and it'll give them credit for that. So anything that's bolded, they did it. They know how to compute the R dot. Okay, so boom, they got credit for that one. They used the R theta instead of something, boom, they got credit for that one. So once you develop your rubrics, bang, 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 you just click on these things. If like I said, if all of a sudden you see something really weird and you go, well, that's kind of interesting, that's worth 2 points, you can just add another rubric right here. If somebody did something kind of out of the unusual, like here, you got the incorrect answer, but your acceleration, you can type that in. And you can say, well, I'm going to give you a point, I'm going to take a point off, or I'm going to add you a point, or whatever. And if once you've typed that in, you can click down here, and these are all of the other comments that were given. And so you say, oh, this person did the same thing. You just click this, and bam, it'll add that one to this grade as well. So it's really pretty convenient. And then after you finish with this one, or even if you want to skip it, all you have to do is come down here and click the next on graded, and it'll give you the next one in line that hasn't been graded. If you click the previous and next, it'll just go to the next one, whether it's been graded or not. It just gives you the very next one in line. It appears really nice because it'll tell you how many are done out of the 70, and this bar will go across as you do it. If you're working with someone else, you don't have to worry about whether they're using it or not using it because you're all logged into the same exam. So if a TA or somebody comes in and grades question number 1 on exam number 3, while they're looking at it, you don't worry about it. You're not going to do the same thing that they're doing. So when you click next on graded, it just gives you the next one that nobody's working on. So it works great when you work as a team. So anyway, that's the grading. Well, I think that pretty much demonstrates everything that you get from it. I guess the only thing left is to kind of show you what the output looks like. Okay, so here's a picture of my hard drive, and so this was the grades from spring 19, exam 1, and so you get these 3 outputs coming down. So I'm going to open up the Excel spreadsheet, show you what it like. Okay, so here's what the Excel spreadsheet looks like. Over to the left is the name of the student, their ID number, and then their email address, so you can easily get a hold of them if you want to. Here's their total score right here, so it's real easy to put this into your grade book or whatever you want. I guess submission ID, I'm not quite sure what that is, but that's not their student ID. I really don't know what that is. And tells you if it was graded, here's when they turned it in. Well, this was done by me, so they're all going to be the same, obviously. They're not late, but anyway, so here what you would do is it'll tell you that for problem number 1, they got 3 out of 20, 3 out of 20, 10 out of 20, 8 out of 20, and 10 out of 20. So you can tell what they did on each problem. So that's the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so what I did here was on the first exam, right, exam 1 right here. You just go down there, and there's the zip file. So this is what's in the first zip file, and so there's the 5 questions that were there, and then if you open up this spreadsheet, it looks basically like this. Over on the left is the names, the scores, and things like that, right? So there's your score, and then the email and all that. So that all information is there as well. And then here is the rubrics that were applied, and did they get, well, like correct? Okay, they got the correct time, or they did true or false. They got it or they didn't get it. So you can tell which of the rubrics that they actually got. So that's what that's in that. So if you go and look in the submissions, and you get all the PDF files, this is the individual students. So I'm just going to open this one here and show you what it looked. Okay, so I opened that one. Up at the top has the name and the exam number and all of that. And so I'm just hiding that so you can't see it. And so this student got 34 out of 100 points, and here's the breakdown of what he got. When I scroll down, you'll see the actual submission. So I'm going to just pause it so I can cover the name. So I just scrolled down a couple of pages. What's not shown up here is the student's name and ID number. Obviously, he didn't put them in the box, but this is what he submitted, and so you can zoom in or whatever. It's a PDF file. You can print it, whatever you want to do. The exam was handed out to them in color, but when I scan them, I just scan them in gray level. It comes out just fine. So you can just, and this is archived. You've got that right there. So I think that's just about it.